And is here, guys. And today, guys, I wanted to go over a quick video on 6 ways of how to make people like you. One of the best-selling books of all times is How to Win Friends and Influence People. And every year I decide to read that book again. And this year, just reading that book and just some things that I've read in the past that I've read now that just kind of are eye-opening that I realized I wasn't implementing like I should. And I was going over one of the chapters, and it was 6 principles on how to get people to like you. Some of them are extremely simple, but if done together, you can have a huge impact on building your network, especially for business owners, for people who are in sales, or for people just looking to get their name out there and just to get yourself known in the community. So I'm going to dive right into it. Number 1, be genuinely interested in other people. I think a lot of times when we meet people, we like to talk about ourselves, and sometimes, people don't like that. They drown that out. So number 1 is always be genuinely interested in other people. Find out what their habits are, or what their hobbies are, what type of things do they like. So number 1, be genuinely interested in other people. Number 2 is smile. Believe it or not, when you walk around nowadays, out in public or work or school, people just tend to have this frown. Nobody's really smiling nowadays. So it's as simple as just keeping a smile. You're going to attract people to you. And it's scientifically proven that people are like you a little bit more if you smile. So start practicing in the mirror of smiling more. Number 3, use a person's name. They say a person's name is the most beautiful and sweetest sound to them. So there's 2 things. Number 1, make sure that you do whatever you can to start memorizing people's names. So, whatever tactics that you can use, you can remember somebody's name, it makes them feel important. And number 2, make sure that you practice continuously using it. So I know I was reading in the book, there were some stories about people who they had different ways to memorize people's names. They would associate their name with a characteristic, or if they had bad memory, they would just write down the person's name as soon as they walked away from the conversation. So make sure that you continuously use people's names. And number 2 is make sure you figure out a way to start memorizing people's names. They feel extremely important. Number 4 is be a good listener and encourage others to talk about themselves. I know a lot of times when you hear, be a good listener, a lot of people listen to respond. They don't listen to hear. So when somebody's talking about something, they're usually giving you information about themselves. It's always good to turn around and allow them to dig deeper. If they tell you about a hobby, if they tell you about an interest of theirs, ask them more questions about it, because people love, and you want to encourage them. People love to talk about themselves. Number 5, talk in terms of other people's interests. So if somebody says, man, you know what, my passion is football, my passion is golfing, or whatever their passion is, ask them questions about that. Dig deep into that, because if you ever notice when you talk about somebody's passion, when you talk about somebody's interest, their eyes light up. They can talk for hours about that. And one of the stories in the book was a gentleman, after learning these principles, he went to a party. And at the party, he decided to practice this particular principle. And he was talking to a gentleman, and the gentleman started talking about one of his interests. So for about an hour, he was just asking him questions about his interests. At the end of that conversation, the gentleman turned to somebody else and was like, wow, this guy is the most interesting person that I've ever talked to. And believe it or not, he didn't even talk about himself. All he talked about was the other person's interest. Number 6 is make the other person feel important. Compliment them, encourage them, praise them. We live in a society, especially nowadays, where people, all they do is criticize, and they tell you what you've done wrong. So when you talk to somebody, compliment them on their appearance, compliment them on genuinely on something that you like about them. If they tell you something of interest to them, compliment them about it, and make them feel important. When you make other people feel important, doesn't matter who it is, they're always going to remember that. People don't remember what you say. They remember how you make them feel. So those are 6 ways to get people to like you from the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. I hope this was helpful. If it was, feel free to like this blog, share on YouTube or Facebook. Appreciate you guys. As always, your success is important to me. Bye.